This is Sarah Poff, the Multimedia Storyteller, just here telling another story. This is actually a story that I told for the State Historical Society for that celebration of the 200 years of Missouri. Here I sit under this big old tree on that old homestead in Greene County, Missouri, thinking about my Nathan. He's been gone for some time. Oh, what a life Nathan Boone and I had, growing up in a frontier and then coming to a new frontier in what is now the state of Missouri. My Nathan was Nathan Boone. Why, yes, he was the youngest son of that famous pioneer Daniel Boone, and I'm Olive Van Bibber Boone. Oh, what a life we had. In 1799, Nathan and I married and moved from Kentucky to the Upper Louisiana Territory, later called Missouri. It was owned by Spain at that time. Now 1800 rolls around, Spain returns that land to France, and I had my first baby. 1803, President Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory from Napoleon of France. Shortly after that, I had my second baby. Now, Lewis and Clark started that journey west, and I had my third baby while they were gone. I had 4 more babies by the time the New Madrid earthquake ended in 1812. Actually, that 4th baby was born that very month the earth stopped shaking. 1 more baby came our way before the excitement of 1817. 1817 was the steamboat Zebulon Pike reaching St. Louis, which was the first steamboat to make it to St. Louis. And shortly after, I had another baby. In 1820, Daniel Boone wanted me to sing to me. He wanted me to sing to him. He said, just take some time and sing to me. It wasn't much longer until he died. We did have some good times that year. However, we had another baby. In 1821, now, 1821, Missouri gains its statehood. I'm 40 years old, and I'm up to 11 babies that I've had out here in this frontier land. Later, we would add 3 more babies to our family for a total of 14. Also, in 1821, Boone County, Missouri was created. I think they named it after Daniel since he had just died. In 1847, I heard about a machine. It billows smoke, going clickety-clack around the track. I heard tell it went all the way from Hannibal to St. Joe. Oh, what a life we had. Now I've told you some things about us, about the dates and where things and when things happen. I want to tell you some personal stories. I know you might like that Boone stories, but I want to tell you my stories. However, my family, they have some interesting stories themselves. Our family story is about religious freedom. My family made it to the shores of what is called the United States 30 years before the Boones came, which was 1684. They were the Van Bibbers. My family were part of the Mennonites who came here for religious freedom. They were invited by William Penn to come join him in the colonies. My second great-grandfather, Isaac Jacob Van Bibber, was given a land grant by William Penn. Later, my family came down that great wagon road to Virginia, to Point Pleasant, Virginia. That is where my 2 brothers were captured by Indians, and my uncle Isaac was killed in 1774. Some say that was the first battle of the American Revolution. When I was 5 years old, my family left Point Pleasant to join the Boones and others up in that little sandy settlement on the Ohio side of the Ohio River, just 75 miles from where Point Pleasant, Virginia had been, our previous town. The Boones lived on the Kentucky side. Now let me tell you our story. They said I was the prettiest girl north of the Ohio River, and Nathan Boone had been courting me for a while. We both lived in that little sandy community along the Ohio River. Now one day, Nathan started cutting down trees and hauling them out. to make a dugout canoe. I asked why. He said, "Would you believe we'll be leaving Little Sandy? My family will." One of those dugouts was a huge poplar tree. It was 5 feet wide and 60 feet long and would carry household goods for several families down the Ohio River and then back up the Mississippi to the upper Louisiana Territory. I watched the preparations, but I didn't join in because I had not been invited and my family didn't want to move. Oh, what a life we had. The Spanish officials in the region were eager to have more settlers move into that area, and they had decided to relax the previous rule that all immigrants had to be Roman Catholic. So by the early fall, Daniel had a group of Little Sandy neighborhood people, and they prepared a fleet of canoes. They made up of hollowed out trees of canoes to carry him up the Louisiana to the upper Louisiana. I was incredibly sad as I watched my Nathan float down that Ohio River with his family. I was very lonely. We'd been courting for some time and I didn't think it would end like this. I was thinking I'd probably never see him again. But he didn't get far before he started feeling the same way. He traveled to Limestone, Kentucky, and returned to me in 6 days. What a joyous day that was when I saw my Nathan come towards me, and in his hand he carried a marriage certificate. We were married the 26th of September, 1799. I have lived on the frontier for some time, and I was not afraid to move again. So just 1 week after Nathan and I married, we set out for the upper Louisiana Territory. We went overland rather than by river, sleeping on the ground at night and eating what we caught along the way. One of our ponies got injured, and that slowed us way down. We arrived in St. Louis the last day of October. Too late to get the free Spanish grants. My husband was offered 80 acres of land in the center of what later became the city for one of his ponies. He laughed and he said, "Well, I'm just not going to do that. A pony for that land?" We located 20 miles above St. Charles. We crossed the river, that Missouri River at St. Charles, by placing our goods in a skiff. My husband rode and I steered, and the horse by the bridle, trying to make sure our packages did not meet with a fall into the river. It was a perilous journey, and we were just 16 and 18. Oh, what a life we had. We began small, like all newlyweds, with a meager cabin and a dirt floor. Later we had a stone house. Some called it a stone mansion. Later we downsized and have a large cabin, but it had some of the modern conveniences. We wanted to be closer to Nathan. Nathan was gone a lot, trying to make a living for the family, and no more babies came along. He hunted, fished, had a salt mining business at Boone's Lick, even tried politics. However, it was his life as a soldier for which he is best known. The War of 1812, he was in the Missouri Rangers. 1833 came around, and to 1850, he was given a commission as a lieutenant colonel in the 2nd Dragoon. Nathan was often gone from home. It was my responsibility to keep the farm and the homestead going. I had my responsibilities of maintaining our family and caring for that homestead. In 1853, Nathan retired. We had just 3 short years together before Nathan became ill and died in 1856. Now I know you'll say we had 57 years together. Oh, what a life we had. But 57 years was way too short. He was gone way too much. Now was Now he was better to me than most men to their wives. He left everything to me. You see, there was a Missouri law at the time that said men owned everything. So if he died without a will, I would not have inherited anything at all. It would have all gone to my sons. So I thought about it for a while, and I decided to sell most of my possessions and give each of the children their share. However, I decided not to sell the land and give each of our 3 sons a share of the land. My daughters became terribly upset with me. They felt I had cheated them. I just did what I thought was best for our time. During the time we lived, the daughters had husbands to take care of them. I wanted my sons to provide for their families. I've heard the children and grandchildren talk about a machine that goes on the tracks. They call it a train. They said it sounds like it's snorting and goes clickety-crack across the track. Oh my, I do hope I get to see one of those trains. As my life draws to a close, I wonder if history will remember me and the other women of the frontier. Oh, wait! There's that historian, Mr. Draper. He came to visit us to get information about Daniel. I told him my story, and he wrote it down. I'm hoping he kept it in his notes. You know, not many of us women got written about in those days. Maybe, if he did, someone will tell my story. Oh, what a life we had. This is Sarah Poff, the Multimedia Storyteller, just telling another story.